Josh Hoover gives the stiff arm to Tennessee. He will not enter the transfer portal. He is staying with TCU next season.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. I'm your host, Steven Simcox. I've been covering TCU athletics for the past 12 years. We're brought to you today by FanDuel. NBA playoffs going on right now. Perfect time to join FanDuel as a new customer. $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet hits. We're going to talk later on in the show today about offensive lineman for TCU, Mitch Hodnett, entering the transfer portal. Young guy going into his redshirt freshman season this upcoming year. We'll also talk about a list that CBS Sports put out of the top 150 players in college football this upcoming season. 2 Horned Frogs landed on that list. You can kind of ruminate on that as we go through segment 1. But we start today with exciting news. I talked to you guys on Monday about Josh Hoover and TCU needing to protect him from Tennessee. That is a done deal. He is staying with TCU. And I told you on Monday, I didn't think there was a cause for alarm, but I did feel like one of the dominoes that could fall from Nico Imaliava leaving Tennessee and entering the transfer portal, which officially happened today on Wednesday as he entered the transfer portal with a do not contact tag. But one of the dominoes that could fall there is it could open up the potential for TCU to have to go back to the negotiating table with Josh Hoover and say, hey, let's figure out what it's going to take to make sure you're not entertaining offers elsewhere, because Tennessee needs a quarterback. There are 2 options. Are they grow up these young guys that are in the system right now, or they go poach somebody else from another school? They can't go get a quarterback from the SEC because the SEC has rules barring interconference transfers. Josh Hoover almost threw for 4,000 yards last year. He is a hot commodity as far as quarterbacks go if he were to be available. This report comes from On3 this afternoon. TCU quarterback Josh Hoover will not enter the transfer portal amidst rumors of being a possible target for Tennessee. That's according to reports from Pete Nakos. Josh Hoover staying with TCU, telling Tennessee no thank you. So here's how this news cycle is going to go. It's reported that Josh doesn't have interest in moving on. He's staying with TCU and not going to Tennessee. Tennessee fans, here's going to be their response. We didn't want him anyway. There wasn't interest there. This is not a story. That's what they're going to say. Regardless of how true that is, and I think there was something there, because there's no reason for this report to come out if there wasn't at least a little bit of smoke to these rumors. Now, there wasn't really rumors from the perspective of like media outlets saying, hey, here's the list. But we all know how these things work. There's back channel communication going on. Now, the story on On3 said that confirmation that Josh was staying came from his representatives, meaning his agency. The people representing him said, hey, he's staying put. Because the first thing that people are going to ask is, isn't this tampering? There's a gray area here. The way that schools get around and programs get around the tampering logistics and guidelines right now is they don't contact the players directly. They reach out to agents. They reach out to coach, former high school coach. They reach out to people around these players and they float out ideas. Hey, if there was an opportunity here, if there was a possibility here, do you think this guy would be interested? And then the ball gets rolling on actual communication happening. But if Tennessee didn't have any interest in Josh Hoover, then this story doesn't come out. So while Tennessee fans are going to go, oh, it doesn't matter. We'd never take a QB from the Big 12. We weren't interested in this guy. I didn't even know who this guy was. Okay, whatever. Believe what you want to believe. I think Tennessee had interest in Josh Hoover. But there's 3 reasons why, as a TCU fan, you should be excited today based on this news. The first one is, it means that TCU is competitive in the NIL space. The SEC has largely been seen as the conference that can throw around the most bag money. And that gap, the concern is that gap is only going to get magnified as we continue to see the SEC and Big Ten get more money from TV deals. Hopefully, revenue sharing sort of puts a cap on some of these things. But right now, as it stands, where there's no cap on spending, the SEC is in a really good situation. And we don't know what's happening behind the scenes and what the official numbers are. But we know that Nico asked for $4 million. That's out there. He was making 2.5. So logic would tell you that Tennessee offered something or had in mind something around those numbers. TCU, so far in the NIL era, has made an effort to use a lot of their resources to retain talent and retain players. Now, that doesn't mean they won't go out there and grab somebody. I told you guys the story earlier this offseason. Jordan Dwyer, big time get by the Frogs. He was highly sought after in the transfer portal. And the host of Locked On Washington reached out to me when Jordan committed and said, hey, TCU must be throwing around some serious cash because I know for a fact that Washington made a very competitive offer. And Jordan said, you know what? That's okay. So this tells me that TCU is keeping up with the Joneses to a certain degree in the NIL space. And with Josh, it's different because he is the highest paid player at the school, right? But it's good to know that in a time where Tennessee is in need of a QB, TCU is at least offering a number that is keeping him around and that is competitive with what SEC School X is willing to do. Secondly, it's not just about money. And on Monday, when I did my show about this possibility, a few of you astutely pointed out, Josh has been here for a few years now. He knows this system. He believes in what TCU is doing. Hopefully that means something. I think this gives us confirmation that those things are true and they do mean something. There have been multiple opportunities for TCU to either move on or give more competition to Josh Hoover. When Chandler Morris was healthy in his final season on campus, TCU could have given him the reins back and said, hey, Chandler, we want to see what you can do over these last 3 or 4 games, see where you're at, and then we'll evaluate in the offseason. They didn't do that. They stuck with Josh Hoover. They stuck with the young guy. They said, you're our dude. That following offseason, after he wrapped up his first year, not first full year as a starter, but half of that season as a starter, they could have gone out and grabbed a quarterback to compete with him and to push him. They could have spent some money and got a veteran QB who would step in and be a starter. They did not do that. They brought in a talented freshman in Haas Haney. They went and got a veteran QB in Ken Seals, but a guy who knew what the situation was. Ken Seals understood that he was there to be a good presence in that locker room, a good presence in that quarterback room. And if something happened, he could step in and fill those shoes to the best of his ability. So TCU has shown a commitment to Josh. They're trying to build a team and build a system around his talent. They have worked hard to build a good relationship with him and his family. And Josh sees that, and he values that. I think this is confirmation of all those things, which is really good news. And the final piece of this, the final reason that I think TCU fans should be encouraged by this report, it means he believes in what they're doing right now. I've said a lot this offseason. This is a very important year for Sonny Dykes and his coaching staff. TCU has been building towards this season. The last 2 years where they've kind of wandered through the wilderness to a certain extent. You saw the corner get turned a little bit at the end of last season, but it's all been moving towards a roster that has depth and stability, a coaching staff that has stability, a quarterback that is going into year 2.5/year 3 of being a starter. All that is happening this year. It's all culminating this season. Joshua believes in that. And consequently, the team should believe in that. So this is exciting news. And I can already tell. I know in the comment section today, and maybe on my Twitter account, in my mentions, and online, Tennessee fans, on the message boards, oh, we don't care. We weren't interested in this guy. This is just somebody making up something to get a raise. There was never interest here. That's going to be the common refrain. Well, if that's the case, then this is a really weird report coming out from a reputable source. I don't think the talks got very far down the road, but there was something to this. And the good news for TCU is they've built a culture and an environment here to support their star quarterback. And he sees it, he values it, and he's ready to rock and roll this season. Josh Hoover staying on, said no to Tennessee, no thanks. I'm here at TCU. That's where I'm going to be. TCU continues to roll on the offseason. Friday is the last spring practice, and then we get the summer and the offseason into fall camp. When we come back, a TCU offensive lineman hits the transfer portal. I'll tell you what that means next here on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. Upwork is back. It's good to have Upwork back with us. Visit Upwork.com right now. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to take your business to the next level. They give businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Find the right talent, do it fast and easy, and have cost-effective growth instead of hiring full-time. Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Again, that is Upwork.com. Give it a try today. Find freelance talent there. One thing I think Sonny Dykes has done really well since he stepped on campus is he's made a big time effort in just increasing the numbers in the trenches. Recruiting when it comes to offensive line and defensive line help too, but really we're talking about offensive linemen. To a certain extent, it's just getting a lot of guys in the room and figuring out what works. It's a very difficult position to project to the next level. The physicality, the skill, there's so many things that take a major step up when you're talking about offensive line play. And there's also the factor that you're most likely, unless you're pulling in like a 5-star talent, which at that position, TCU has not had success getting that type of player on campus and committed. But unless you're pulling in like top shelf, top tier guys, you're talking about a position group where you probably won't see a lot of contributions until 2 or 3 years into the system. So they're trying to find the right players, the right faces, put them in there and see, okay, who makes it happen? Who develops in a big way? Let's see what it looks like. Well, one of those names is Mitch Hodnett, who is an offensive tackle from Monroe, Louisiana, 6'5", 300 pounds, was a part of the 2024 class. So last season was his freshman year. He didn't play, redshirted, hey, not super uncommon for that position group. Well, he hit the transfer portal this morning. Spring transfer window is open. He's in the portal. I'm not going to act like this is not a loss. I mean, like, Mitch is a dude that did not play. So it's hard to quantify in games. It's hard to quantify who this guy is, what his contribution would have been this upcoming season. But this is one of your project guys, and that door is now shut. Now, entering the transfer portal, always a good caveat to remember, it does not mean he cannot come back. I will say, when I tried to search and find him on the TCU roster page, he's already been removed. So I don't think that's a great sign. And that might just be standard practice when guys are in the portal. But I get the impression Mitch is looking for a new destination where maybe he feels like he has a better chance to play quickly. And coaches can phase these guys out too. I don't know if that's what happened here. Whatever the case is, a young offensive lineman moving on. Don't love to see that, but it's part of the numbers game you're playing by recruiting that position at a high level and just in high volume. Is some of these dudes are going to wash out or decide after a short amount of time, you know what, this is not the place for me, and I need to go elsewhere. He is in the transfer portal. I think TCU is going to go get an interior offensive lineman in the spring portal window. I would love to see them get a guard and a tackle, but I just believe they need somebody there with some snaps at the guard spot who can play on either side so that if there is an injury, you feel like you have someone who can step in that can play and is not going to be lost and can do that pretty seamlessly. So I think that's something to watch. But Mitch Hodnett, best of luck to him. Moving on and seeing if the grass is greener elsewhere in the transfer portal. CBS Sports came out with a list earlier this week, the top 150 players of 2025. And there are two TCU Horned Frogs on this list. Josh Hoover at number 72. The blurb here, he threw for 3,700 yards, broke TCU's single season passing record, tallied 23 touchdown passes in his first year as a full-time starter, has a quick release and can distribute well, needs to clean up ball security, but enters 2025 as one of the top returning passers. The ball security angle, he did clean that up late in the year, in my mind. But I imagine, looking at stats, and early in the season, that was a big problem. I've talked about it. I feel like so much of that was just trying to force things, trying to will the team on a comeback, trying to do too much. So the maturity, you hope the maturity kind of takes over as he continues to get snaps and play and understand what it means and what it's like to play this position. But I think Josh did a really good job taking care of the ball in the back half of the season last year, and hopefully he can springboard that into this coming season. But I like these on the list. The other Horned Frog on the list didn't shock me, but a little bit surprised. Bud Clark at 108, veteran safety with length, range, and strong ball skills. Picked off 3 passes and broke up 6 more. Excellent at catch point and reliable in run support. Can also roll down in the box. Bud coming back is a big deal. He's going to be good this year. I feel like you saw the light bulb really come on with him getting to play with more instincts and play faster late in the season last year, starting to get a nose for the football again. Those are all really good signs for TCU in this defense. There wasn't anybody who was just egregiously left off to me. I think you could make an argument for Eric McAllister, but I understand from a national perspective why he's not going to get attention, because even though he had a good season last year, he was, third or fourth option in that passing game. If things play out how I think they could, I feel like Eric's going to be a dude on the list next year. I think Caleb's Alarms-Or could be on the list next year. And these guys would have to come back. But just from a production standpoint, I could see those players being right there. And I think the TCU roster is talented. I don't feel like there's just, one or two guys that really stand out as top 10 players in the country, but I do believe that there's a lot of depth, especially along the lines, really for the first time since Sonny Dykes has been here. Your top 10, just if you're curious. Jeremiah Smith, number 1, wide receiver, Ohio State. Cade Klubnik, quarterback from Clemson, number 2. Lenora Sellers, number 3, the quarterback from South Carolina. Garrett Nussmeier, number 4, the quarterback from LSU. Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame, number 5. Dylan Stewart, edge rusher from South Carolina, number 6. Caleb Downs, safety from Ohio State, number 7. Sam Levitt, quarterback, Arizona State, number 8. TJ Parker, edge rusher from Clemson, number 9. Ryan Williams, wide receiver from Alabama, at 10. So only one Big 12 player in the top 10, that's Sam Levitt, coming back from that magical season where Arizona State made the playoff. When we come back, some audience reaction to yesterday's show. TCU baseball kicks off a series with UCF tonight. Talk about that next year on Locked On Horned Frogs. It's your team every day. FanDuel, I tell you about them frequently. NBA playoffs are here. I'm actually, as we're recording this, I'm watching the Mavs and Kings in the playing game right now. Mavs up 71-48. New FanDuel customers at FanDuel.com or on the FanDuel app. You make one $5 bet. You win that bet. You get $250 in bonus bets. They make betting so easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props. From three-pointers to steals and assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into same-game parlays for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Again, that's FanDuel.com or the FanDuel app. FanDuel, it's where the game starts. You make one $5 bet. You hit on that bet, you get $250 in bonus bets. FanDuel, bet on your favorite teams, make prop bets. It's all available to you as the playoffs rolls along. FanDuel.com or the FanDuel app. Yesterday, I made a bold prediction for TCU football this upcoming season, and that was Eric McAllister going for over 1,000 yards receiving. Frog fan chimed in and said, I think 1,000 is a bit of a stretch, but if we have a good run game, I would definitely bet over 750. Let's have some faith, Frog fan. Let's be cautiously optimistic. The run game is a huge part of this. It is. This team needs to be more balanced. If they are more balanced, that's going to help out your wide receivers. And I do think there's something to be said about Eric is going from a place where he was, third or fourth option to the dude. There's a difference there. He's going to see better corners. He's going to see more attention. There's going to be more time, effort, all those things thrown at him. But I feel like he's really up to the task. And even though it was at a different level, he was wide receiver 1 at Boise State a few years ago, and he handled that really well when he was healthy. So he sort of understands what that looks like and what that can mean. It's just a matter of doing it at the Power 4 level, but he thrived really last year, had some huge touchdowns. I mentioned it yesterday, had that big touchdown against Kansas, that big touchdown against Texas Tech that really won them those ball games. So he's been there in those big moments. You just need to find more consistency this upcoming season. But, that's something that I think he can work on and find and do. And it should be fun to watch him play. I'm excited to see Eric McAllister play. I'm excited to see Jordan Dwyer. I really like the way this receiving core is set up. You got to go out and do it and execute it. And they're going to have to be elite like they were last year. But I like the different skill sets they have at that wide receiver position. TCU baseball getting back after it tonight after a tough midweek loss to DBU. They have won 6 conference games in a row, though. 2 sweeps on consecutive weekends. They play UCF in Orlando Thursday, Friday, Saturday. First pitch tonight is at 5:30. So a little bit earlier than normal because they're on the East Coast. I do worry somewhat about coming off a tough midweek loss and then flying across the country and playing on Thursday. That's a tough thing, but hopefully that youth really, shows up and wins out as far as not being jet lagged or tired or anything like that. Tommy Lepore on Thursday and then TBA Friday and Saturday. I imagine we see Cole Klecker and Cademan Parker. And it's really up to those guys getting through the first couple of innings and then turning things over to a bullpen which has been very effective as of late. We will have coverage on Friday of that and so much more. It's Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel or on your favorite podcast platform.